5 keys to elite salesperson in 2021. It's important for us to, one, set the foundation. Why am I teaching on this now? Because it's really relevant to the beginning of the year. Because you have a new slate, a new opportunity to really get clear on where you're at and get clear on where you're going.
Hey, this is Blake Sloan. I've been selling real estate over 14 years. Our team of highly trained professionals, along with our unmatched marketing, has sold thousands of homes here in the Myrtle Beach area, and this is how we do it.
And so the first step, you guys remember this, number one, is you have to get your financial mindset right. There's two parts to that, right? You got to think about your finances from where you're at and where you and your family, and you feel your family deserve to be, and where you want to go this year. What exactly is my target this year? How many am I going to sell? How much volume do I need? And how much money am I going to make? And how much money do I feel that me and my family deserves based on this? Because what most people tend to do is they tend to justify where they're at in their comfort zone based on what they're doing and what they think so-and-so is doing. Right? Well, I'm fine right here. I'm doing better than so-and-so. They just tend to justify, which then hurts their growth and it hurts their extra discipline. And so I want you to make sure you take time to get clear on my financial mindset for 2021. What do I feel that my family and I deserve from a money standpoint when it comes to sales? Because all sales comes down to selling more stuff, period, or selling higher price stuff and making sure you're strategic about it. And so Baron, great example, sold a lot of homes first year, then realized, hey, look, my average sale price needed to come up. That was a focus for the next year, and guess what happened? Average sales price rose up, sales continued to rise. That's an example of financial mindset and having strategy behind it. And so a lot of people just roll in the first of this year like it's the same as last year, but it's not. So I want you guys to take time in doing that, right? If you know that you can be more and do more, but you aren't doing that, it's time to get that right. I'll say it again, right? If you know that you can be more and do more, but you aren't, it's time to get that right. And that means I need to fix my daily disciplines. I need to make sure I'm having a super clear target. And I'll talk about in a minute why that matters, right? But the reality is if you know that another call, another strategy, another angle can get you more money, it's your responsibility to do it, and it's your responsibility to learn it. Meaning that what I need to learn this year, what I need to focus on. We talked the examples about my sphere. We talked the examples about my social media. We talked the examples about my past clients and hug calls. That's a part of financial mindset because that tells me the intelligence of where I need to attack this year to hit my specific goal. Does that make sense? But what do you think that starts with? That starts with a very specific goal and a specific date. And that's the one thing that makes a big difference. I was listening to one of the podcasts Andy Frasilius talking about most people say, well, I just want to be rich in one day, right? Well, I want to live in this neighborhood, in this house, with this much money in the bank by this date. It's a lot more specific. And now my subconscious mind pushes subconsciously to hit that. And so an example of that is I'm going to sell X amount of houses this year with X amount of volume, with X amount of GCI by December 31st, 2021. That's my clear target. And then everything else revolves around that, and my perception of how I see reality is going to really revolve around that, and I'm reverse engineer my quarterly goals and my monthly goals around that. Does that make sense? But I wait to start trying to kick in gear to June, July, after I've been going through the motions for the first 3 months, it's going to be very, very hard for me to hit that goal. And I got to make sure I have the financial model and mindset to help push towards that when I don't feel like it. Okay? This is going to be clear to figure out where I'm at right now money-wise, where do I want to be money-wise at the end, and what's my target and deadline. Number 2, all the money's in the follow-up. All the money's in the follow-up. It's a key important one. We talked about this before, which is really important. It's not the intro. It's not the meet and greet, right? It's not on the internet. It's in the follow-up. Right? Specifically, this is where the financial model comes back into play. No one wants to make that 3rd, 4th, 5th call to those people. No one. Right? But the people that want to make the most money, hit their target, guess what they're going to do? Make it. Pick up the call and do it because they want to make sure they get there. Here's some key stats that's important. Did you know that 25% of salespeople don't even make the second call? 48% don't make over 2 calls. Which is crazy. I'll say it again. 25% of salespeople, this is national, not just real estate, from Grant Cardone. 25% of people don't make even the second call to that person. Right? It could be someone obviously not in your bucket, whatever it may be. 48% never make over 2 calls. But the problem is most sales are closed between the 5th and the 8th call. I've heard this a bunch of times. But we know that's there. Why don't they do it? It goes back to the financial mindset. Everyone will tend to justify everything and move it into comfortable. So going through that 75 hard stuff, he talks about everyone around you, they try to take whatever's happening around them and make it easy. Versus just doing what needs to be done and being okay with the uncomfortable, which is, in this case, making more dials. And you look into the internet leads, right? Internet leads, sometimes you got to call 8 to 11 times to get them on the phone the first time. Not to mention the second, third, fourth calls you need to get them. And so this is where the financial model comes in, what's super important. We all know the fortunes and the follow-up, right? And so if I make a commitment this year, guess what I need to do? I want to be an assassin at the follow-up. What does that mean? I'm relentless as hell. Anybody that's read The Ultimate Sales Machine, there's a thing they talk about. What is it? The key part, I think in the beginning, he talks about. He talks about pig-headed discipline. Pig-headed discipline, over and over. No matter what happens, I don't change. Almost to a point where it's dumb. They're just relentless in the same thing over and over and over. And that's why people tend to want to do the easy versus the pig-headed discipline, which gets you all the results. So look at my success this year in 2021. It's going to come down to how's my discipline line up with my follow-up. Why does that matter in real estate? Because real estate has a very long sales cycle. It's not just selling a Best Buy TV. There's lots and lots of thoughts, looking at different things, emotions, timelines, all these things that are really into one, which is making a soup that's really a recipe of how many times can I follow up, connect the dots with them, and help them get through that emotional roller coaster themselves, right? Makes a big difference here. Number 3, you have to mix up your strategies. It's an important reminder here, I think, for everyone. I got to mix up the strategies where I'm not just somebody on the phone, right? I'm not going to abandon them other ways. What does that mean?
Email, text, bomb videos, stuff like that.
Yes, social too, right? I wrote in there social is important. So you're the mixed martial artist of sales. Remember that when I taught that the first time? I'm a mixed martial artist of sales. And so what that means is I'm constantly switching it up. Most people I see, they screw up in business here, even the seller and the buyer side, is they think linear. Linear screws you up. What do? They get on the dialer, they just make calls over and over and over and over and over. They don't take time to look them up in Spokio. They don't take time to find that second number. They don't take time to text them, send them a text, video, email, right? They don't take time to send a bomb. But in today's world where there's so much noise out there, right, I got to find the right frequency in which I can connect with them. There's more noise than ever in the marketplace. We can all agree to that. There's a new social media thing popping up every week, right? I knew this or knew that. And so my job is to be, how do I stand out amongst the noise and have the right frequency? The thing is, I don't know what frequency is going to get them. But it does come down to really hitting this up. This also comes down to when I'm calling people, I got to be very, very disciplined in what I do. They're in my bucket, what do? But I got to call them, leave a voicemail. I text them at the same time, and I'm going to send an email. I'm going to put in the notes what happened. I can't tell how many people I see in the buckets who get lost, whatever it is, or they end up buying with somebody else where they had called them, and there's 10 times that person just made a call, and they're going to let the voicemail for their person in their bucket. That person doesn't even know you're calling, right? And if you do leave a voicemail, the chances of them checking and listening to your voicemail, not very likely. And so I got to make sure I'm taking the extra step, the extra mile, to make sure I'm mixing that up, right? Internet, phone, social, video, text message, even personal visit, right? Making sure I can visit them if I need to, if it's a seller, whatever it may be, if it's a $2 million property, whatever it may be, and make sure you're doing that. But a lot of times people aren't pushing hard like they need to all the way consistently. You guys with me on that? And I think one of the biggest ones we're lacking is add them on social. Hit them up, send them a message on Facebook, right? I know a lot of people maybe get a lot of text messages, automated text messages. Hit them on Facebook, wherever it may be, Instagram. Don't be afraid to do that. Why is that? Because I'm a professional, and they submit to my website, and I'm doing my job. And you got to have that right mindset, how you come in that for sure. Does that make sense? So the key part here, mix up my strategies, right? Don't abandon any certain ways in that aspect. You guys with me on this? Number 4, you have to actually close. What that means?
Is that as simple as just asking for the sale?
Unfortunately, it is, right? Meaning that, what happens?
People just pussyfoot it on.
Yes, they get to the point when it's time to make that close and the butterflies come up in the stomach, what do? They take the easy route, right? They don't go for that killer instinct. I've got to, in 2021, develop that killer instinct. Meaning that when I feel the pressure, I feel the uncertainty, I feel all the stuff where they may be on that edge making a decision, I got to have the certainty and push through and ask for the order. If I could, would you? Right? Let's write it up. You see you got yourself doing this, let's go ahead and make an offer, whatever it may be. I need to have my phrase identified for that exact scenario before it happens. And once it happens, I got to train myself to make that offer when I feel uncomfortable doing it. Does that make sense? Another crazy stat that Grant Cardone had shared I didn't even know about. He said 72% of all salespeople in all sales organizations never even write up a deal, which is crazy, right? And again, that's in all type of sales organizations. Somebody's selling information products, real estate. If you think about it, though, most people get in real estate, the first year don't write a deal up at all, right? Outside of here. But the reality is, why is that? They're not trained to be in the right moment to make sure they can take advantage and have the certainty. Your client can read you. They're judging the shit out of you, right? We had a situation where this lady this week wanted to get rid of their agent they had. They didn't like her. Her agent was on our team, right? They didn't want to work with her. They want to work with somebody else. They're giving somebody else. A person did it. Person called back in and said, we can tell that person's really nice, but it's really green, right? Really green. So the reality is, guess what they're doing? Judging the shit out of you. And if you're weak and come across weak, they feel your weakness and they judge you and they don't want to work with you. And so when it comes out uncomfortable, you got to dive in and go harder because they're judging you and you don't even know it. You think you're Mr. Nice Guy or Miss Nice Lady. They don't want that. They want someone who can stand in that fire and push when they need to be pushed. Right? And so if I'm making a decision for this year, I got to double down when it comes down to those moments. How do I do that? I practice. I role play. They feel your certainty in your voice. Now you operate in your twitches, and anything you do has to be able to come to that moment, and I make sure I execute. Right? And so why did I share this? Because there's a lot of people who need this and have this in their arsenal for 2021. Number 5, training. Massive training. Consistently this year. It needs to be made a commitment. It's one thing that Grant talked about too. He said most people might as well put a sign on the desk that says, I quit learning a long time ago. Right? Put that sign on your desk in front of your client and see if they still want to buy from you. Go home and tell your wife or your husband that, hey, look, I quit learning. Your kids, I quit learning, and see how much respect they have for you. But a lot of people still show up the same way. They don't watch videos. They don't share. They don't read books. They're not learning anything. They just show up and go through the motions. And that's a problem between people who make it and who don't make it. You've got to constantly be training consistently. Multiple things, right? Always watching videos. We invest a lot of money in different things for you guys learning. Make sure you take advantage of that. Some do, some don't, but it's important there, right? That's the one thing that Garrett talked about too. It says you're done if you don't train, period. Especially in today's marketplace. Why does that matter? It's changing faster than ever. As technology comes, as things happen, as all the chaos around, things happen more than ever. Newer objections, right? Newer psychology. People judge you even more. And so as this intensifies, you got to be ahead of the curve by training. But the thing I really took the most is that most people even here, right? They're here for a few months, they do initial training, and they just quit. And I really took that part. You might always put a sign on your desk that says, I quit learning, I'm done. And if you really did that and put that on your desk, do you think people want to buy with you? No, because no one wants to work with something like that. And so that's just the reality of making sure I'm obsessed with it, right? That's one thing that says, this is important, I wrote down too in my notes. So if you're not training, that says something about your obsession or your lack of obsession with winning. If you're not training, that says something about your obsession or lack of obsession with winning. And that's a key part there, right? If you have a great month, great week, whatever it is, if your wife or husband pats you on the back, right, you don't stop now. You keep doubling down. It's super important to look at, right? And that's one thing that he talked about was a Conor McGregor example. You guys remember that? What did Conor McGregor say one time about winning? He said, I'm not the most talented person, I'm not the most gifted person, but I'll outwork anybody. And I'll out-train everyone. I think it's a video where he's boxing, whatever it is, and he says, I outwork and out-train everyone. You have the same mindset here in 2021. If I want to win, is I got to out-train and outwork everyone. What's that mean? Constant videos, constant things. Same thing with me. How I built this entire business, I was obsessive about coaches, training, videos, reading books. You guys see all the time as I post videos for you guys or training, going through things, I'm still doing it today. And what's crazy about that is not only do you have to seek it out and learn it on your own, some of you all in here won't even watch the shit I share with you, which shows your commitment or obsession with winning. And so you need to look deep inside and say, look, for 2021, what's my commitment to training, and am I going to stick with it or not? Because honestly, that's one thing that he talked about. If I'm not doing it, go home and tell your family you're not. And see how that works and how you feel about that. Because if not, you're just a liar to yourself and a liar to them. And I took that kind of hard. I'm like, man, that's pretty strong for him to talk about, looked at. And the same thing he said he did too is go back, watch a video, role play. Watch a video, role play. Because that's the key part here, why role play is so important. Does that make sense, you guys? Without looking at it, who can tell me all 5? Without writing it down, without looking at your notes. No one can look. No one can do all 5, right? That's a perfect example of how the human mind works and why role play and repetition is so important. No one can comprehend what they do. That's the same reason a lot of people don't have their closes down. We talked about from Jordan Belfort, right? Because there's not enough repetition, role play, and so that comes down to training. The human mind just had all these 5 things sounding pretty cool, but it's not in your subconscious until you role play and train on it consistently, right? And so if you don't remember the things I just shared with you without looking at it, that should show you the importance of repetition, right? And so the reason I cover this is a key, easy framework for 2021. The good news is we're getting it now. Look back, last time I taught it a couple years ago, it was like the middle of the year. This is a good foundation and framework to look, where am I at right now? Score myself 1 to 10 on each of those and make sure I'm getting clear on that. And so it's not about having 55 karate moves, it's about being really good at 3 or 4. And that's the one that's most important for you guys, right?